All right, old school NBA fans, self-researched NBA facts. Got a video for you. This is my top 10. I'm going to see if I can get through all 10. It might just be 6 through 10. But I know there's been a lot of questions about why is this guy here? Why is that guy? Why'd you do this? Why that? This is just where it took me, okay? I had what I thought kind of like more of an opinion, 25, and it was pretty close anyway to what it was. So that's why I stand behind it, because I did more research, looked at even more different angles to look at this thing, not just any one thing. I looked at pretty much how a player did individually, who they were as a player, okay? That was one half of it, basically. Then the other half of it is how they did in the team aspect, how they did based on the teammates they had against the competition they had. You know, sometimes the competition, you know, was weak, sometimes it was strong, sometimes it was mediocre, just depends. So, you know, I used the criteria. It took a lot of time, and it took me where it took me. It is what it is. Some of them I was a little surprised myself, but I got to stand behind it, because based on the criteria that I use, certain things were more important than others. Obviously, the number one thing was how many championships did you win when you had the opportunities to do it? And that was when you're a number one seed or you're in the finals. Some players just didn't have very many, so you can't hold it against them if they didn't have that many opportunities. Now you can look at it like, well, just not getting to the finals that much then should be held against them. Yeah, that's true, and that is part of the overall playoff. That kind of gets covered in, you know, your playoff success. But the strength of your competition will come into play for that, and the strength of your teammates. If you got a weak team and you make a good run, you'll get counted for that. If you got a strong team, you know, and you get beat in the first round or something, it's going to be held against you. So anyway, without further ado, number 10 on my list, Shaquille O'Neal. Now before, I think I actually had Shaq 11 and LeBron 10. These two were so close. So close. You would not believe how close they were. I'll go through some of the positive stuff. Shaquille O'Neal won 1 MVP, 2 scoring titles. I realize, you know, he had Kobe on his team, may have held him back from winning more or whatever, but he had 13 straight years of being top 9 in the MVP. That was pretty strong. His three-peat really helped him out a lot, because, you know, I gave extra credit for repeats and extra credit for three-peats. 3 finals MVPs in that three-peat, to win all 3, that was big. The Rookie of the Year, that's just kind of an award that covers, you know, accolades that were voted on. He only lost 2 series in which he led. That was another very important one. He lost 5 times at the home court, which is not great. He was swept 7 times, though. That was definitely a negative. He made the playoffs 89.4% of the time. That was very good. He had 8 shots at the championship. He won 4 of them. Now, his regular season winning percentage was .662. His competition in the playoffs, I think the record was 52.55 wins. And you average every playoff team he ever played. He was top 5 in MVP 11 times, and he had 6 in the top 3. I think that's what it says here. Shaq played against 18 first-team All-NBA players in 44 series. So that was really good. 44 All-NBA players in 44 series. That was pretty strong. In contrast, like I said, LeBron James, he only played 11 first-team All-NBA in 54 series. So he played 10 more series, LeBron did, and played 7 less first-team All-NBA players. That mattered. That was definitely a factor. LeBron lost the lead 5 times, where Shaq only twice. LeBron lost 3 times at home court, where Shaq lost 5. Shaq definitely got some points. He was one of the top maybe 5 or 6 players of making players better. Like Dwayne Wade, for example. Two of the 3 best point per game years for Dwayne Wade was playing with Shaq in that 05 to 07. It was 05 and 06 if I remember correctly. That was one of them. Penny Hardaway, he made first team All-NBA twice, both with Shaq in 95 and 96. I realize he got hurt, but he did have some full seasons in there. He was a third team All-NBA in 1997. With Shaq, Penny was 21.3 points per game, 7.2 assists per game on 51.3% shooting. The next year without Shaq, he dropped down to 20.5 points, 5.6 assists, so he loses about a point and a half, down to 44.7% shooting. Kobe shot 46.5 to 46.9 from 99 to 02, like right in the heart of, playing with Shaq. Kobe never shot better than 46.3 except for the 1 year in 09. So 4 of the 5 best shooting years for Kobe was with Shaq. That matters. It just does. Derek Fisher, he averaged 12.1 points per game from 01 to 03. He never topped 10.3 ever again without Shaq in the playoffs. Horace Grant, he shot 59.4% in the playoffs in 95 and 96, the 2 years with Shaq, the highest 2 years of his career. He went 14.4 points per game in 95 and 96, the best 2-year stretch in his playoff career. A lot of examples why he made players better. The conference finals and finals combined, Shaq's record is 48 and 38 for a .558 winning percentage. LeBron James is 64 and 59 for a 52% winning percentage. So LeBron played tougher finals competition, but Shaq played tougher conference finals competition. And it was close. And what it came down to, believe it or not, LeBron James played 15 50-win teams in his division in his whole career, in a whole 21 years. Only 8 from 04 to 18 in the East. Shaq played against 18 50-win teams in 19 years. Actually 18 years. I didn't count that last one, Boston. He didn't play enough games. 18 50-win teams in 18 years, and LeBron played 15 in 21 years. But what it came down to, believe it or not, was one little kind of dumb thing, but Shaquille O'Neal lost 3 or more playoff games in a row 9 times. LeBron James lost 10. He lost 3 or more playoff games in a row 10 times versus Shaq's 9. And that was basically my separator. Everything else was so close. LeBron was a little better on the individual player. Shaq was better on the team stuff. I mean, it was so damn close. It was just, I think it was basically a tie, and this was the thing that decided it. So anyway, that's my number 10. Number 9, Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan was very close to the number 8 guy. I mean, they were really close. Tim Duncan won 2 MVPs, never won a Defensive Player of the Year. He never led the league in anything. His career average is 19 points per game, 10.8 rebounds, 2.2 blocks, 0.7 steals, 69.6% from the line. 8-time All-Defense first team, 7-time All-Defense second team. He was great. I mean, what can you say about Tim Duncan other than he's a great player? He had 6 top 5 finishes in Defensive Player of the Year, 9 top 5 in MVPs, 9 years at 20 plus points per game. He never finished in the top 2 in Defensive Player of the Year. He did finish in the top 3 twice. Obviously, he's got a very good percentage of winning. He won 5 out of 6. That comes to, I think it was 83.6%, which is a very high percentage for winning championships. He got, really good credit there. As far as making players better, I couldn't find a lot of clear evidence one way or another. Maybe he did. I mean, like David Robinson's numbers dipped when Duncan got there, but also Robinson was getting older and his playing time dipped a little. Ginobili and Parker came up with Duncan, so it's hard to really say. I mean, they played there the whole time. By the time Duncan left, they were old at the end of their careers. So really no real gauge. Kawhi Leonard was good with Duncan, but even better without him. But he was also young, pretty young when he was playing with Duncan. I guess in some of those middle years, but Duncan was, he was older, and I never really got a good gauge on any player as to Duncan affected him positively or negatively. I just couldn't. One thing that I realized though is San Antonio played a lot of different players. They would just keep bringing in like Brett Berry, Malik Rose, Steven Jackson, Glenn Robinson, Michael Finley, just all these wave of Nasho Nesterovic, Tiago Splitter, Boris Diaw, Patty Mills, just all these role players that they just went in and out on, in and out. So it was more of an overall system, but of course Duncan's at the heart of it. He's got to get all the credit, but also the blame, because we got to get to, there is negative for Duncan. Tim Duncan lost 7 times with home court advantage, and that's a lot. That is a lot to lose with home court. It just is. He lost 6 times with a lead, and that's also quite a bit. That was on the higher end of all these players. But, Tim Duncan was a great player. He deserves to be in the top 10, and this is where he was. I mean, he scored really high, and but very close to the guy who's number 8. Number 8 is Hakeem Olajuwon. Hakeem Olajuwon, who actually had higher than this, but this is where he is. He's number 8. Hakeem Olajuwon had 1 MVP and 2 Defensive Players of the Year. Now, Defensive Player of the Year meant a lot more back in the 90s and into the 2000s because there was a lot of stiff competition. Say at least up to like 2012 or something like that. Like after that, they got really thin. I mean, you got your Marcus Smarts and Jaren Jackson and Rudy Gobert winning Defensive Player of the Year. Like, okay, whatever. Back then it was David Robinson and Hakeem Olajuwon and Tim Duncan and, players like that. Dennis Rodman. I mean, these are who was winning Defensive Player of the Year. Dikembe Mutombo, Ben Wallace, Dwight Howard. Good defensive players. Mostly centers. They usually get all the attention. Gary Payton won one. But Olajuwon beat, this is where he scored some good points. He beat 3 teams with 2 first-team All-NBA players. That was a lot. That's more than Jordan. That's more than Kobe or Bird or Magic, more than any of those guys. That was big, considering he didn't even play as many playoff series, and he was always mostly the lower seed. He still beat 3 of them, though. That was impressive. The 86 Lakers and the 94 and the 95 Jazz. Olajuwon career was 21.8 points and 11.1 rebounds. Both those are over Duncan. I think that's 2 points over Duncan and 1 rebound over Duncan. 3.1 blocks. That's a block better than Duncan. 1.7 steal is a steal better than Duncan. So to me, he's just clearly a better individual player, Hakeem Olajuwon. The team stuff, where Olajuwon didn't get killed by it, but he did lose by it to Duncan. But overall, Hakeem did have, did a better showing, close. It was close, but Hakeem was a little better. He only had 3 legitimate shots at the title, and he won 2 of them. So, going by the percentage, that was good. He only ever played with 2 All-NBA players ever. and they were a second teamer, Ralph Sampson, and that was in his rookie season, and that was in '95 with Clyde Drexler, who he won a championship with, and he only played with them for a third of the year and then the playoffs. That's it for Olajuwon, ever. That's all he had. And I think he had 2 all-defensive players. One of them was Scottie Pippen in '99, clearly on the backslide of his, averaging like 13 points a game. He was a second-team all-defense. And one of them, I think, was Lewis Lloyd in like 1989 or something. That's it. Olajuwon played like 18, 19 years. He had a pretty good percentage on making the playoffs. Duncan had him, beat on the regular season stuff, no doubt about it. But Hakeem did well. The back-to-back helped him. Duncan never won back-to-back. Even though he won 5, he didn't do a back-to-back. So Hakeem got special consideration for that. He also got special consideration for winning the MVP and Defensive Player of the Year. I did not care that it was in the same year. That's great, but also, the Finals MVP and all that, only one of a handful of players to do that. The same year, that's great, being the only player to ever do all that. It is, but I didn't really count that. But it was close. But individual player, Hakeem was better when he was given any kind of help at all. When he was in his prime, when he was like 34, 35, 36 and got an older Barkley, Drexler, Pippen. I mean, and even then, Olajuwon only lost once with home court advantage. I believe it was twice. He lost twice with home court advantage. His rookie year against Utah in a 5-game series, and the other one was, I'm trying to remember exactly, but the other one was home court advantage. He lost in like '88 to Seattle. Took him like 6 or 7 games or something. They had Xavier McDaniel, Tom Chambers, and who am I leaving out? Dale Ellis. They, really good team. They're red hot. But anyway, and the only lead he ever lost was against the '98 Jazz. They were up 2-1 in a best of 5, lost 3-2, but the Rockets were the 8th seed. And, to be up 2-1 in the first place was pretty good. But, I did count it. But he didn't get upset. He didn't blow leads. Not much at all. And you gave him any kind of help, he did something with it. Back-to-back champions. I know people say, well, Jordan was there, whatever. You don't even know that. In '95, Jordan was there. And he got eliminated in the semifinals. What do you want me to say? Jordan was there in '95, but he got eliminated. And the team that eliminated Michael Jordan, Olajuwon, swept him out with Shaq, first team All-NBA, Penny Hardaway, whatever. Swept him out. All defense, Horace Grant, swept him out. So, anyway, that's it. Thanks. Okay, actually, that's not it. I had a little bit more on Olajuwon I wanted to say. Hakeem was 8 times in the top 5 for Defensive Player of the Year, 6 times top 3, 4 times in the top 2, and won it twice. So he did better than Duncan on all those. 13 times he was 20 points, 20 or more plus points per game, 13 times. Duncan was 9. That's just how it is. Duncan was 9 times top 5 in MVP. Olajuwon was 6. But a lot of that one has to do with how good your team is. I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying how it is. I have no skin in the game either way. Olajuwon won 2 rebound titles and 3 block titles and is widely regarded as the best center at stealing the ball of all time. And also one of, if not the best, shot blockers of all time. And one thing I can say is the year Clyde Drexler came over in '95, Clyde Drexler on Portland shot 42.8% for the first 2/3 of the year. The last third, when he joined Houston, 50.6% from the field. So Drexler got an immediate boost. He didn't shoot as many shots, but he got an immediate 8 percentage points in your field goal percentage. And we all know that's a big jump. So with all things considered, Olajuwon, it was close, but it wasn't as close as LeBron and Shaq. LeBron and Shaq was almost a pick-em. I mean, it was so close. But Duncan and Hakeem did have the smallest of edge, but he did have an edge on You know, he didn't have David Robinson and Ginobili and Parker and Bruce Bowen. He just didn't have these things. You know, he didn't have all this. But with what he had, though, Olajuwon, to me, still did really well. He beating the Showtime Lakers in '86 was big. And taking Boston to 6 games in that series, also big. And then the '94 run was great with no other Hall of Fame player on the team. And then in '95, finishing the back-to-back, that was great. And in '94, of course, the MVP, Defensive Player of the Year season. You know, Olajuwon, just one of the best players of all time. I had him ranked higher than this. I did. But I'll live with number 8. That's fine. So anyway, it is what it is. I'm sorry I only got through number 8, 9, and 10, but I'll have more. I know I wanted to explain into depth to try to eliminate some of the questioning of it. But anyway, maybe later tonight or might even be tomorrow, I'll have hopefully 4 through 7. So anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching.